Welcome back, friends. And this episode of the Grieving Nurse podcast, we are going to talk about that feeling when you just feel out of control. It might come out as anger, or it might just feel like you turn inward and you're trying to just protect yourself. And so you might go to bed and hide in bed, but everything just feels so out of control. So, welcome back, friends. And we're going to talk about the feeling when you feel out of control. So, I was coaching somebody the other day, and usually when we have that out of control feeling, we do things or say things that we're not very proud of. And afterwards, we look back and we're like, oh my gosh, like, why did I say that? Like, oh, that was just horrible. Then we feel guilt and we feel shame on top of the grief that we probably didn't even deal with to begin with. And so it just kind of turns into like this grief, shame, guilt spiral. And so what I want to do is I want to really kind of backtrack on when we first start to feel out of control. And so for me, a lot of times something would make me feel sad initially, or even maybe a little shame thrown in there. So a lot of times it was if I would for around my weight, like if I would look at myself in the mirror and again, I had lost 40 pounds fairly quickly, like after my parents died, and then the betrayal with my husband came out, like I then found, well, okay, it wasn't quickly. I would say about a year later. That's when I found life coaching. And so I did that to lose weight. And I had been exercising and stuff along the way. So I had kind of like toned up a little bit. I got rid of like a little bit of like the baby weight fat that I've been carrying around. And then I found this program that I lost weight with, right? And it was great. However, once that kind of stopped being oh, every week I'm losing 2 or 3 pounds, or every day I hop on the scale and it's going down a little bit. Once I plateaued, that's when I found a lot of feelings started to come up that I had been avoiding or pushing down. And so that's when we initially start to feel out of control, is when we have been avoiding things or feel like I've been doing this and this should be working, right? Like there's always that little snippet that kind of sets us off. And for me, again, a lot of times it was when I would step on the scale and I would see the scale go up. Or I had planned my food for the day, and then all of a sudden there was a kink in the plan, and I had told my husband over and over again, like, this is what I'm going to eat today, and then this is what I'm planning for, this is where I want to stop. And it was usually around when we were going out somewhere. When I'm at home, it's not, and I probably for most people, it's not that hard when you're at home and you can control the outside things. I remember one time I had a plan for the day with my food. This was, I want to say it was 2021. And this was right when I was in the heart of like trying to lose weight, trying to eat healthier. Um, we were still working through a lot of things on our marriage. We were in those beginning stages of that, trying to rebuild the trust. And so for me, I communicated to my husband that I'm going to eat, I think I was going to stop at like a shake shop, or I was going to have a salad. And we got to the place in Fargo we were going, and they had ordered a pizza. And so I had not gotten my food yet. And so, of course, the pizza smelled delicious. And I went to the Shake Shop or to get the salad or whatever I had planned, and they were closed. And in that moment, I felt such immense rage, anger. I felt out of control. I felt this immense, I don't know if it was a pressure, but it just was like, phew. And like that's what when I was talking with this person the other day, like it just felt like something snapped. And it's like, yes, that was how I felt in that moment. I felt like something snapped because I felt like my husband should have known this. He should have got me the food first. Even if they were like it was even like then turning onto myself where it's like, I should have looked up and made sure they were open. Why am I so stupid? I planned something that wasn't going to work out. And it just, and I didn't, I yelled at myself in my head, of course, like how ridiculous I am and how I can't ever get anything right. And like, this is why you're a failure. And this is why you can't ever lose weight, right? Like, I did all of those things in like an instant. But outwardly, it came out as just pure anger towards my husband. Like, I yelled at him. I yelled at the quiet kids to be quiet. And can't you guys just like, I'm starving and can't you guys see this? And it felt almost like an out of body experience. And when I look at it now, I really have compassion for myself because those were really hard days. I felt like my food was the one thing that I was trying to control, that I was working on, that I was making progress in. And then on the days when I felt like I wasn't making progress, it felt like a crashing wave of despair. It felt like I am never gonna come out of this. And then when you look at it, you're like, well, it's just food. Like just have the pizza. Like I was so upset. I felt like the pizza was m- me being a failure. I was giving up on myself. Like I was doing everything wrong. And it probably even had started initially that morning when I probably stepped on the scale. I probably had a day where it was a plateau day where the scale didn't change, or maybe even went up a pound or a little bit. And that's where like I want you guys to recognize that there's probably something that initially triggered the out of control feeling that you just brushed over, that you had an inkling of, oh, this is never going to get better. This is never going to, like, I can't figure this out. I'm a failure. Like, I had an inkling that morning when I stepped on the scale, and I thought it would be fine as long as X, Y, and Z lined up, then it wouldn't have been a problem. But since life happens and there's external factors all around us, the kids are always going to get sick. The food places are always going to be closed, or they're going to be out of your thing that you wanted. Or your husband also had a bad day at work, and so he's not there to support you. Like all of these external factors then make you feel out of control, and you want to control all of that. When the reality was, if in that moment, at any point in time along the day, I could have sat with that and I could have just been like, okay, they're out, the food place is closed, they're out of my food. Pause, breathe, be like, okay, this is the fact. What choice do I want to make now? Do I want to eat the pizza and I'm going to limit myself to two slices? Maybe I want to limit myself to one slice because I know, and then at least I'll get that initial hunger taken care of. And and I'm going to eat it slowly. I'm going to pause between bites so I don't just like quickly stuff it in my face and like, well, one wasn't enough. I need five. So in those moments, like there's a snippet of time where our brain offers us the bad thoughts, right? And the initial first ones are human. They're a human reaction. It's that when you pull up and the restaurant is closed and you're like, oh, it's just, oh, nothing ever works out for me. This, like, all those things come so quickly, so natural, so normal. Okay. Then after that initial one, I want you to take a deep breath. Maybe even put your hand on your chest and just, or even like at the top, like on your throat, so you can have skin to skin contact. Maybe, like put your hands around your neck just to like feel that. Oh, like breathe. Okay. The fact is, this is close. The fact is also there's this, and this place within distance. I can check there. Or we have beautiful technology now. I can pull up on my phone and I can look and see what places are open and what places are like within a mile away. I can eat what the food we have here, but that might look like this. Like there's so many options that we can do, but we forget to pause and we forget to look at the options. And so I just want to reiterate, I think every time with the podcast, I'm always like, this is so normal. This is so normal. This is so understandable. Like when you are dealing with grief, it feels like every corner has it. Like you think things are getting better, and then it's nope, took this corner, turned here, there it is again. So I just want you to know like how normal that is. And we are going to have moments and maybe even string along days or weeks where we get in this out of control spiral. And so again, that is so normal. I want you to realize that when you look at that, that how that person that you are, right? I'm trying to think of the word, but women, a man, like as you're listening to this, I want you to picture yourself as just a little girl, right? Or a young boy. And like when your child makes mistakes, like, yes, sometimes we get upset with them, but overall, like we want to help them through that. We want to guide them through that. And so I want you to picture yourself like that, like in those moments when you were so out of control, like to like be like, of course you were. Of course you were. Life kept throwing things at you, new things that you've never dealt with ever. You don't have the tools. You didn't have the tools. So now you're learning those tools, and it's okay. We're working through that. We don't need to go back and rehash the past and beat ourselves up for how we showed up that day. We can take it though, and we can say, okay, I didn't like how I felt in that moment. So what do I want to do instead? What did I need in that moment? What do I wish that I would stop and ask myself in that moment? And I want you to take that and move forward with it. And if you need to, if you're really like struggling with it, you're like, no, I like yelled at these people or I yelled at my husband, like it's okay to also go apologize for things that happened in the past. It's okay to go and be like, I'm so sorry. And to not make excuses and be like, I was having a hard day, right? Like, because we were, like, we understand that. But to just show up and be like, I am so sorry that that's how I handled things the past week, that past year. I am so sorry. And then forgive yourself in that as well. Forgive yourself and move on and get new tips and tools to equip yourself to show up better. Because that's what this is all about, right? Like grief can teach us so much if we're willing to pause and allow it. And it's uncomfortable. Not gonna sugarcoat it. It sucks. It's painful. It's such an immense pain. And it feels like too, it's never ending. But to recognize like, yeah, of course I showed up that way because that's what I was going through. So I encourage you to book a free consult call with me, but most of all, like, subscribe, and also come to my website for all the weeks of December here. I am running a free webinar on 3 tips to handle the holidays with grief. And I it's been great. Like I love this workshop, this webinar. I love doing that. I love giving you guys tips and pointers because there's so many times like we show up and we just think this is how it has to be, or this is what I need to do because we've always done it that way. And so come to the webinar. You can go to nursegriefcoaching.com and sign up for that. And it's different times and different days each week. But when you sign up, it'll give you the latest one. And then also you'll get emails if you have to miss it, or then you'll get the replay as well. So nursegriefcoaching.com and sign up for my free webinar. I will see you guys there. And I am praying for you, and I hope hope that you have the best possible day that you can.